Hello DevOps people, I'm Jochen, welcome to my stream. Today I'm going to do a few different DevOpsy topics and I'm happy to have you with me. First of all, I'll do something a bit self-indulgent, and that's applying for the awesome streamers list. Awesome developer streams. I've recently discovered that there is a GitHub repository that lists development streamers, and I guess it's time to have someone on this list who does Ruby development, and Chef in particular, because there isn't a single developer on there that does Ruby. And of course, since I'd like to grow this channel, it can only help to be on this list. So let's get started with doing something that's a bit self-centered, but quite easy, and it gets my brain going. Because, to be honest, I'm pretty tired today. I'm on call for our hosting infrastructure this week, and last night I got, I think, 8 alerts with about 30 minutes in between, so I didn't sleep well for hours last night, and it shows. My brain might be a bit mush today, but we'll see. That's why I'll do something a bit more simple to get started. Let's see, here are the contribution guidelines. And adding to this list, please ensure your pull request adheres to the following guidelines. Search previous requests. Yep. No one has requested to have me on the list yet, so that's not a problem. Make an individual pull request for each new streamer. Well, that'll only be me. Please include a streamer's preferred social media. Happy to do so. Suggestions for improvements are always welcome. Well, I'm happy that the list exists in the first place, so check your spelling and grammar. That's what the Grammarly browser plugin I'm using will take care of. Pull request and commit should have descriptive titles. Yeah, we are developers after all. So let's do a forky fork. And that's when GitHub's online editing feature comes in handy. I don't need to clone the repository onto my machine and do my changes there. I can simply take the README file and click edit. Okay, so I'll add myself to the end of the list. That's just an anchor. So let's use my name here. And we'll go right to the bottom add myself. Streaming on. To be honest, I had been thinking about switching from Twitch to YouTube after seeing a very convincing video from a pretty successful streamer, and she decided to go YouTube only. And since I already publish my recordings there, I thought, well, it might make sense to go to YouTube. They also have things like better transcoding and video quality and things like that. But in the end, when I looked at this list here, I realized almost everyone is streaming on Twitch, so there might not be the need to leave this platform at all. And so I'll probably stay for another while. Speaking of which, this is my 11th live coding stream, so I've crossed the 2 digits limit, and I'm quite happy how it turned out so far. Streaming on Twitch. Then languages, spoken during stream, English, if I'm not completely mistaken, and links to Twitter, and your GitHub. And I think it's a good thing to make Twitch a link to. I guess that's that. Oh, why not? Let's also link my website. So let's see if my links are correct. If I click this link, yep, it jumps down. This looks good. Does it lead to my channel? Yeah, it obviously does. And that's Twitter, GitHub, and my website. Brilliant. That's cool. And let's see, where did my mouse go? Huh. Battery dead. Let's replace it with my trackball then. Always have redundancy. Yeah, where are we? No, that's not it. I think I probably closed that one, so let's take a look. Adding something. Submit the pull request. Updating your pull request. Okay. So let's do a new pull request. Yep. Let's see if this works. I hope so. And I hope to get a few more followers that way. Now to something more productive. I've recently, if you've seen my live streams, worked on a DNS cookbook for Chef. Chef is configuration management software that automates setting up servers and services on them. And we needed a more modern approach to configure our DNS servers and have zone data automatically maintained. And that's why I forked an existing Chef cookbook and added the zone management logic to it. For now, this cookbook has been living in our monolithic Chef cookbook repository, which is a private repository on GitHub. And since I forked an open source cookbook and there is simply no reason not to publish what I added to that, I'd like to open source my version of the cookbook as well. In order to do that, I need to have a public repository that has the same code than the subdirectory in our own monolithic Chef repository. And so the question is, how do you do that? Of course, I could simply copy everything over and do commits. On the other hand, there might be a way, and there is, to simply transfer all the commits that were done to our cookbook here into a public repository. And I think that's actually the better way, because things become more transparent that way. And I guess it's also going to be easier to make sure that both sides are in sync. I found a nice short article on this very topic, making a subdirectory into a new repository. And there is actually a command, namely git filter branch, that allows you to take a simple subdirectory in a big repository and basically throw everything away except this particular subdirectory. And that's exactly what I'm going to do now. So I go to my development machine. I think I already have our cookbooks repository here, and I need the NSDX repository that should already exist here. So what I'm going to do is make a clone of our cookbooks directory. Repository to be more precise. So let's go into here, copy the clone address, do a clone, and I'll name this NSDX cookbook. Then I go into the NSDX subdirectory, and that's the one I'd like to expose or export. And now I'll use this command here, and let's see how that works. I think that needs to be source NSDX master. So export the subdirectory src NSDX on the master branch. Okay, and that's why I need to be in the top level of the cookbook. That was quick. And now the only thing that's left is the cookbook itself. And it actually is the NSDX cookbook. That's all fine. I'll have to remove the original remote and replace it with the NSDX cookbook repositories URL, so git remote add origin Oh, just for curiosity's sake, let's take a look at the git log. And interestingly enough, only the commits that affect the NSDX cookbook here are left. So it's only 3 commits so far. And with a git push, we have an open source cookbook. Now, keeping our 2 repositories in sync might be still a bit of a challenge. Creating it from scratch is one thing, but I'll see when I do an update, if we release another version, I can see how this works. I assume that even repeating the same process should work, because I'll export everything from the beginning, part of which will already be on GitHub, and only the updates will then be stacked on what's already up there. And that should work well. It's basically like a git push after making a few more commits. It shouldn't rewrite history, I guess, but I'll see how that works. It isn't actually mentioned in this article. Yeah, I'll have an update at a later time how this turned out. So far, you can go to GitHub, Freisteel youtube.com/nsdx-cookbook, and you'll see the results of my previous live streams. That was nice. Now, today I'm not going to do a more chef work. Instead, I'll go another route. Recently, we've intensified our Ruby coding. As system engineers, we are pretty much used to doing most of our infrastructure work with shell scripts, if we are not using Chef to automate everything. And so we are still, I'd say, pretty new at coding scripts in Ruby. But since a colleague of mine recently went on a coding binge and created a 1,000 lines of code script, it's time to get into serious Ruby coding. And one of the parts that I deem essential for professional coding is having tests to make sure we don't have regressions, to avoid bugs that had already been fixed and things like that. And apart from running tests locally, there's always the option of doing continuous integration. And that's exactly what I'm going to do today. So I'll change to our scripts directory. We already took this script out of our bigger scripts repository and gave it its own repository. The script is called FBtool, FB standing for FrySteelBox, our hosting platform, because that script is a tool to maintain, say, setup information that we store in Chef. And maintaining this setup information for a steadily growing number of hosting clusters gets more and more complicated. That's why Simon built this tool to make things easier for everyone. And it's not particularly important what it does. It basically maintains a huge number of JSON files and makes working with them easier. What's important in this context is that we've already made it a Ruby gem. So there's a gem file and, more importantly, a gem spec. And we even have added a few first integration tests. So I guess running our spec should work if we have everything what we need. I think well, let's see. Have I already run bundle install? Oh, there's not. Okay. I'm working on the system version of Ruby, and let's switch to Ruby 2.4.2. We probably should have a Ruby version file here as well. So let's create a branch, git checkout -b CI setup. So it'll help the CI system to know which Ruby version we are using. So let's pin this to 2.4.2 by creating a .ruby version file that says, I think, just 2.4.2, right? And all of a sudden, bundle install works. The magic behind this file is that I'm using rbenv to maintain my Ruby environment, and rbenv uses the Ruby version that is stored in that file. Hey Simon, how you doing? Thanks for giving a shout out. Just noticed you there in the chat. Now, there is a problem with installing the FFI gem, and I think I've encountered this bug before, because this might be a version that has been pulled back. And we'll probably be able to resolve this. Oh, it's because make failed. We should have build essentials installed. If not, it's time to... Hey, Backwoods Bandit. Good to have you on the stream. Let's see. Build essential. I'd be surprised if we didn't have that installed on this machine. No, it's already installed. We might be missing library files though. libtool. Okay. I'm doing good, good. How are you? I'm a bit tired after having a rough night of on-call duty, but apart from that, I'm pretty good. We had tremendous rain yesterday. It poured and rained cats and dogs, and even though I wanted to get out to get some snacks and maybe a bottle of beer, I simply couldn't bring it over me to get out there, because I wouldn't have been able to walk halfway to the supermarket without getting completely drenched. So I'm pretty happy that today I can see at least some blue sky over the coast of Bray, and yeah, things are good. Okay, and let's try again. As I mentioned, it's not the first time that the FFI gem is a bit of a hassle, but I hope things will work now. After that's finished, I guess we can try another bundle install. Yeah, it's not that our servers were underwater. They aren't even running in Ireland. They are safe and dry in distributed across a few data centers in Germany. And hope and I guess Pyromorph here even made sure today that I'll have a better night tonight, and get a bit of sleep before I'll be leaving for Germany early tomorrow for Drupal Camp Essen, where I'll stay over the weekend. Okay, that's that. Bundle install. Better. And now bundle exec rake rspec spec. My initial instinct to run rake test should have worked as well. And that will even run Rubocop, which breaks at the moment. So that's what CI will tell us as soon as we have it in place. That there's still some Ruby style to be improved. But first things first, so let's see. That's that. Okay. I've already created a test gem file, and that'll be pushed to our private gem repository, which we run on Package Cloud. So that we can simply do gem install FB tool, and we'll get the newest version. I should exclude gem files, from the Git repository, and that of course we'll do here. Okie dokie. Good. Let's do a few check-ins. Ruby version. Git ignore. That's that. So, that's that. And now for the CI integration. We are going to use a hosted CI platform, Travis CI. We have been using Circle CI for a while, but testing our chef cookbooks will be easier on Travis CI due to their architecture and the way they use Docker. So I thought, okay, let's give the hosted Travis CI for private repositories a try. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So there is already a project created for FB tool, but since we don't have a Travis YAML file, it won't do anything if I push changes. Let's build that YAML file. I don't know, is there something that will help me do this? Yeah, I agree. Even though you pay for Package Cloud, and it's not too cheap, but it's fair, and it makes things much easier. If you need your own apt repositories or RPM repositories, or in this case a repository for Ruby gems that you don't want to push to the official Ruby gems repository, because in this case it wouldn't make any sense. We are the only ones that can use this tool and can get use out of this tool. So it makes sense to have a private repository, and yeah, Package Cloud makes it very, very easy to get that, and I'm happy to pay a few dollars for that. Okie dokie, so I guess I need the Travis CI documentation. Let's see, getting started. Let's use something easy. and start with a .travis.yaml file. Oh! That's interesting. I might have accidentally created that earlier. I'm really surprised to see this file. Okay. And it even is set up the right way. We have version 2.4.2. Ruby, we don't need sudo, I don't think so. Before install, we'll do a bundler install, so that bundle install itself will run fine. Oh, that's great. That brings us halfway there, I guess. So, since it's Ruby, I think it will automatically run rake test. And the only thing that I could try and add is the package cloud deployment. So let's see, if I say deploy provider package cloud, Travis CI supports package cloud out of the box. I can add the repository, which is called freistyle/rubygems. And then we have a username and a token. So I don't think I'd like to add these as literals in this file, even though the repository on GitHub is private. It's never good practice to add credentials to a Git repository, so I'd like to make this more dynamic. And I think I can do this using ERB template syntax, but I'm not completely sure. Let's see if I can spot something by chance. Or we could simply search for Travis CI environment variables. And there is documentation on this. And how do we... I see. It might be that we actually have to have literal things in there, but we have to use the Travis command line tool to encrypt them first. Still, it should be possible to simply... Well, is it though? Can I go into a repository? Well, what I'm used to from CircleCI is that I have a project workspace where I can define environment variables on the UI level, and then these environment variables will automatically be included in the build runs. That way I don't have to have anything hard-coded in my files. And that's the case here too. So I can define environment variables like package, cloud, repo, and package cloud user, and of course I'll have to add literal names, package cloud key, or is it token? It's token. Hello? Here we go. And now, how do I resolve them? Yeah, okay, obviously they recommend the same, define variables in the repository settings that contain sensitive data. That's very sensible. The values are used directly in your build. There is no example of how to reference a environment variable in the YAML file. Huh, that's pretty strange. Mm. Huh. I'm quite surprised that I have to dig this deep. Okay. I guess that's the syntax I need. So something like that. Package cloud user. And let's use single quotes, package cloud token, and we can even replace this with package cloud repo. That's that. So back to the deployment. Deployment part. Deployments and uploads. Package cloud IO. We don't have a distribution, so that's that. Oh yeah. Of course, I only want to deploy from the master branch. And only glob, only gem files in the main repository root. By default, Travis would traverse the whole repository on on a search for something that is kind of a package, and it makes more sense to limit it to the repository root, where gem build will leave these build artifacts. Speaking of which, we need a build customization. So that's called script, and we'll start by bundle exec break test. And then bundle exec rake build, and I'll have to create this build step, and that's that. And if these two steps are going to be successful, they will lead to a deployment if they are run on master, and we'll deploy a new version to package cloud. Yeah, that's that. Let's see how this works. Give it a try. I should have started a tmux session here. And this should already trigger a build. Or do I have to specify that builds should happen on all branches? Let me see. Selecting infrastructure. Building specific branches from the branch containing the git commit that triggers the build. So it should actually run a build. But I could also trigger a build manually. Interesting. Travis, why build? Oh, of course, master won't work. Could not parse Travis YAML. Okay, that makes more sense. So I've botched this. Let's see. Is there a way to take a closer look? Looks like I've done some basic error. Let's see. That shouldn't make a difference, but anyway. And then we have to deploy. Oh. Is it my environment variables that don't work? I might still start. No, I'm really not happy with hard coding that stuff, even if it's encrypted. Something in me doesn't agree with this at all. Even though I might give this a try. Travis setup package cloud. So What do you think? Should I hard code my encrypted tokens in my Travis CI? Or should I try and put them into environment variables and find a way to do so? I am still leaning towards the latter. On the other hand, I'd like to see this working. So let's see what Travis Setup Package Cloud does. Shell completion not installed. Well, why not? Detected repository as file stealer. Yeah, this is correct. Okay, Travis login pro. Okay, let's do it. My GitHub password. You didn't expect me to show my password to you, didn't you? Two-factor authentication code. Okay. Hey Slayer Darth, how you doing? How's your day been so far? Oh, come on. You can't advertise to use Travis Setup Package Cloud if Travis Setup Package Cloud doesn't work. Dearie me. Well, we're back to finding out how to use environment variables in the YAML file. Travis, travis.yaml environment variable reference. Everyone points to Travis Encrypt. No, I'm not Irish. I'm from Germany. I moved here with my family from Germany in 2013, and haven't regretted it a single time since then. I enjoy the weather. Even though it can be rainy, temperatures are much more moderate than back in Germany. And I like that the summers don't get as hot. In Germany I often couldn't sleep at night because the temperatures had only dropped to 28 degrees. And in the winter it doesn't get as cold here on the East Coast. I live a bit south of Dublin, and yeah, and being an EU citizen basically enabled me to take my stuff and family, come over here, get a house, and start living. That's one of the definite upsides of having something like the EU. Not going into any discussions here, especially because I'm just not politically inclined enough to carry such a discussion. Let's stay with IT. Well, okay. I cave in. I'll encrypt my stuff. I'll give this a try in a shell that you can't see, because I don't know how the Travis encrypt thing works, but yeah. Let's do it the official way then. So I have to Travis encrypt the API token, and then reference the YAML element, I guess. Okay. You know what? I'll do this in another shell. Off screen. That's the good thing, having two monitors. Thanks for following, Slayer Darth. I'm happy to have you here, and feel free to ask if you have any questions. Give me some feedback, and let me know what you find interesting. Let me know what I should explain a bit more. I'm happy to chat. So here we are. Travis encrypt the package cloud token. I think I already have one. I'm not too sure though. Let's see. Yeah, I created one yesterday. And then deploy token. Line 16, column 17. What's that? Line 16. There is an error. Maybe that's because maybe I should have quoted that in the first place. Yep. Okay. Now we have a token. I'm not sure if we are already at the point, Simon, that we can live off my non-existing Twitch revenue, but I'll definitely work towards that. Okie dokie. So I think the token is the only thing that's really security critical. So this is Ruby Gems, and the username well, Slayer, maybe don't use one anecdotal example and judge everyone based on that. But you two can duke this out between the two of you. So, not sure what username I have to use, but let's try. Well, let's see. Package Cloud. Here we go. Stacks? What do you mean? What we run for our web hosting platform? Oh, that's right in our wheelhouse. So we started in 2010, and we specialize in hosting more of the bigger WordPress-based or Drupal-based websites. We specialize in these two content management systems. We do support Laravel as well, of course, because it's all PHP, but our main expertise is in running big Drupal websites and WordPress websites. And it's a completely distributed hosting platform, so it's not a single server. We have different infrastructure for MySQL clusters. All web applications run on multiple boxes, as we call them. So there's a lot of redundancy built in and scalability. We have our own Solr clusters and Memcached instances and all that's necessary to run a high traffic website. The days that a simple LAMP stack running on a lonely Linux server are definitely over, especially if you're talking about millions of PIs per month. Yeah, I agree. Having frameworks that actually build upon each other instead of blindly competing is a nice touch. Recently, with Drupal 8, the Drupal project also adopted Symfony for some core components, and yeah, it's much better than trying to reinvent the wheel all the time. I really don't know. Maybe I should try and set this up from the start and off screen. I'm not sure how these tokens should be handled. To be honest, I didn't expect the tokens to be displayed in any way. That's pretty poor practice to reveal them initially. And I guess okay. I guess I'll need to find out how to work with these tokens anyway. So we can do that on screen and simply go to package cloud.io, and instead of going there, I'll go to the help section. Oh, I don't want to submit a support request. Docs is the right thing. General docs. And let's see. Private repos. Repo owner and specified collaborators may push packages to the repo. Read accessible only with a read token. Oh, there's actually documentation on how to do this. So I need the Package Cloud API access token. Oh, come on. So, let's see. New API token generated. Let's go here. Encrypt the new token. That's that. Hi, Gwenworth. Yeah, I'm German. I'm a German living on the east coast of Ireland. Oh dear. 5 nines, really? Okay, so API token, that's that, and create a Travis YAML file which installs the package Cloud Gem. I thought that package Cloud is directly supported by Travis, and so all I need is the token. So once again, the repository is Freisty / RubyGems. The username is our email address, and that's that. And let's make this that as well. Credentials. Now, we have another build. Well, thanks for the GitHub link. I'll have a look at it later. Okay, it's running rake test, and rake test fails as it did before because we have a few style things to fix. But so far it had been working okay. And yeah, let's go and fix these things quickly. It's only 12 offenses, they should be quite easy to fix. So in databag item.rb, line 33, extra empty line. In commands RB, empty line. Yep, yeah, line 20. Then in commands databag RB. I can wholeheartedly agree. Check out Ruby. I started web programming with PHP 3 to be precise, so right after it became PHP from PHP/FI, and later because we are using Chef as our system configuration management, and Chef is written in Ruby, I started learning Ruby myself, and it's a great language, and it's very elegant and can do a lot of things. Okie dokie. So in line 54 we have. Oh, that's strange. It doesn't have a line 53. No, it's line 9. guess that should be something like this. Finding the time, yeah, I can relate. There's so many things you could do if you just had the time. Line is too long in Commands website. Oh yeah, definitely. Well, oh, what did happen there? Here we go. Then, well, let's run rig test another time and we'll see how things work. I thought there is a Ruby version file. So let's work it from the bottom up. Data bag item line 36, trailing black line. Wait, data models data bag item. What's he complaining about? Line 36. Oh, it's just line too much. Then models cluster, missing space. Okay. I see. Guess we can take this out anyway. It's just debug code. Then models cluster line 17. That's something more interesting because it says prefer double quoted strings in line 17 and in line, yeah, that's already fixed. So in line 17 we have a single quoted string. And hi ProClicks, thanks for asking. Scalable web infrastructure simply means you have servers running one or more websites and you'd like to grow capacity on demand because many of the websites we host sometimes have spikes around seasonal events. For example, we have customers that approach us before Christmas to add more capacity to their e-commerce website, and if your infrastructure is built in a way that you can simply throw in more servers without having to rebuild everything, that's what we mean with scalable web infrastructure. So our customers could call us in this moment that they need more capacity, and in, say, half an hour, they'll have it. Thanks for following. I hope to see you more often here. Okay, let's continue with the cleanup. I'll run another rake test just to get an update. It's only 7 offenses left and most of them are pretty trivial. Models cluster has an empty line in line 5. Yep, double. Then commands website has 2 issues. Let's load it first. And then look at the errors. Line 24, we have a trailing blank line. That's probably the last one. Yep. That's easy to fix. And hey, Diamond. Thanks for following. And so line 15, unused argument. We don't actually use the options, so we should make this an underscore variable to show, okay, we have to have this variable because we might pass in more parameters, but we are not going to use them at the moment, at least. And then we'll go to commands databag, but I'll run another test. Yeah, commands databag, the last 4 offenses. Commands databag. I like Rubocop, that's the linting software we are using here to make sure we have a coherent coding style. Oh yeah, thanks for explaining this. Yeah, that's exactly what is happening here. I'm working inside a Linux server, so here ops 06, that's one of our operations servers, and I'm running on there. And this is one of a few hundred servers we are running. So yes, I have ever used Linux. I started using Linux in 1993. And Simon Pyromorph here is right. I prefer to have Macs as workstations because of their convenience, basically. And with their underlying BSD system, they're not too different from a Linux machine, but the many things are a bit more convenient than on a Linux desktop. And yeah, you have my full sympathy for having to work on Windows. I've almost, well, I can't say I've never worked on Windows because I had a Windows 95 workstation back in the day, but apart from that, I've never used Windows. I had OS2 and Linux then for a long time, until I got annoyed by having to rework my X11 configuration all the time, and that's when I switched to a Mac Mini. And once Apple had me in their ecosystem, I never left it. Okay, so let's see, what are the remaining errors? Commands databag, line 11. Line is too long. Okay, let's see. Oh, it definitely is too long, so let's break it into multiple lines that can be more easily read. And I guess the same goes for these. I'm pretty sure the other issue Rubocop pointed out was one of these. Anyway, let's see, the list should be pretty short now. One last issue, empty line in cluster spec, line 13. Oh yeah, it's quite obvious. This means that RakeTest now should pass the style tests and go right into the small number of integration tests we already have, or it's more of a unit test to be honest. And that's that. So let's commit these, fix style issues. Hey Malachi, happy to have you here. You think Windows is much more stable? Huh, that's unexpected to be honest. Okay. At the moment I'm working on an iMac, but I had a MacBook Pro, and almost everyone on our team has MacBook Pros, and well, we are happy to report that the machines are running fine most of the time. But yeah, there's always the odd exception, I guess. And I had strange issues with the Mac or with my iPad and stuff like that, so, you know, I'm not very evangelical about this. I'm happy with a Mac. So, did I push it? Yeah, I pushed it. So, what does Travis say? And that's the nice thing about how's it called? Continuous integration. You check in your changes, you do a push, even to your own private branch, and the CI system runs the tests and tells you what's wrong with it, if there is something wrong, and obviously there is something wrong. That's interesting. I thought everything was working. Oh, interesting. So it seems that we have built something. So we are using the chef configuration file on our workstations to contain the credentials, and it's actually necessary for the tool to run. So it can't run on the CI system at the moment. See, I didn't expect that. I didn't even think about this. Of course, Travis doesn't have any credentials that we could use to run tests. Yeah, we'll have to fix that later. But I guess the basic CI integration I wanted to build is done. And looking at the clock, I'm at the end of my time window anyway. So I could as well just finish up here. We'll get the credentials thing solved until next time, and I guess we are good to go and start working on actual business logic, because so far we have been mostly doing foundational stuff like setting up tests and all that stuff. And my colleagues are eagerly waiting for this tool to actually do some work for them, and so we'll have to focus on adding features now. And I guess Travis CI will help us to maintain our Ruby style, and make sure that the tests are actually working, even without direct access to our chef server, I assume. And so I'd say mission accomplished. So thanks her HS for following. Thanks everyone for following. Thanks for being here with me. And I'll see you next week on Tuesday. Until then, have a great time. Cheers.